Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. We're delighted to have all of you tonight. The evening's agenda will be displayed on the screens in the front of the room for you to follow along. For those of you that are online, you can follow along there too. There will be two opportunities tonight to address the board this evening, the first being agenda item 6.1. The first set of public comments is relative to agenda items 7.1 through 11.4. Please state the agenda items you are referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is agenda item 12.1. There's a sign-up sheet located on the table in the back of the room, and each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board, and a timer will be shown on the screen. And with that, Ms. Marshall, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Mrs. Meyer?
Here.
Dr. Nesterbaker?
Here.
Mrs. Altman?
Here.
Mrs. Davidson?
Here. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, up first tonight, Parent Council Report and Recognition. May I have a motion to approve the resolution of commendation for the Westerville Parent Council?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes. And with that, I will pass it to Dr. Nancy Nestor Baker and Von Bell.
Thank you, President Davidson. At this time, I would ask if Rachel Kreitz, if you would come. There's a report that she would like to give on behalf of Parent Council.
Wonderful. Thank you, Board of Education, President Davidson, Mr. Bell. Just want to address a few things tonight for the group. Westerville Parent Council, WPC, is a nonprofit 501c3 organization representing 35 member groups, which include PTAs, PTOs, booster, and community groups serving the Westerville City School District. We provide assistance to these organizations to ensure families are engaged and connected in Westerville schools. I believe the collaborative efforts of our parents and families with our staff across the district is the key driver to the overall success of our students. This year's volunteer support report once again shows that. I'd like to recognize the unbelievable ingenuity, dedication, time, and thoughtfulness of the hundreds of volunteers a part of these organizations. This past year and beyond, we have faced many challenges, and our community has pulled together in incredible ways. We've gotten creative with virtual talent shows, reimagining how our flower sales are executed, and coming up with new and creative ways as we finally begin to come back together again. I continue to be overwhelmed by the way our parents and guardians and our teachers and our community have shown up for our children in our schools. Even as we speak tonight, many of us aren't here because they're at schools helping to execute theater programs, National Honor Society inductions, sports fundraisers, and much more. The WPC Executive Board is pleased to share our findings for the 2020-2021 school year with the Westerville Board of Education, our schools and community. For 20 and 2021, 21 of our 35 groups reported. Volunteers in our member groups provided 24,602 hours of donated time and talent in areas such as music, athletics, art and theater support, literacy initiatives, student leadership development, tutoring, mentoring, and countless clubs and experiences for students beyond the classroom. These reported hours would be the equivalent of approximately 16 full-time staff members. Monetary support provided by member groups collectively totaled $257,262. This support comes in the form of programs, projects, and activities that enhance the educational and extracurricular well-being of students. Money is raised, as you know, through a multitude of fundraising initiatives, contributing to the thousands of hours of donated time. Our member groups also supported graduating seniors from all 3 high schools with scholarships totaling $42,500 for post-secondary education. The impact of volunteer support groups in our district is invaluable. Westerville Parent Council encourages all families and community members to connect with a group of their choice and support Westerville students with their time, talent, and financial gifts. Thank you so much, Board.
To Rachel and to all of the Parent Council representatives and volunteers, on behalf of the Board of Education, we would just like to thank you for all of your many, many, many hours of sacrifice and volunteerism that you have provided. It's what you do is something that, quite honestly, as a district, we could not pay for. But your service is so vital and important to what we do as a school district. Much of what you do helps to comprise the wonderful educational experience that our students and families get to experience while they are here at Westerville City Schools. And so as a thank you, we would like to present you with a resolution this evening. And I'll read the resolution. Whereas Westerville Parent Council is a nonprofit 501c3 organization unifying 35 member groups, which include PTAs, PTOs, booster, and community groups. And whereas Westerville Parent Council provides an avenue for collaboration, support, and the sharing of district-wide information to help ensure that families are engaged and connected in Westerville schools. And whereas during the 2020-2021 school year and in the midst of a global pandemic, members in 21 of our 35 Parent Council member groups provided 24,602 hours of donated time and talent in such areas as band, theater, athletic support, literacy initiatives, student leadership development, tutoring, mentoring, and clubs. And whereas monetary contributions provided by member groups collectively totaled $257,262 in the form of programs, projects, and activities to support the well-being of pupils. And whereas Westerville Parent Council member groups also aided graduating seniors from all 3 high schools with scholarships totaling $42,500. Therefore, be it resolved that the Westerville City Schools Board of Education and the superintendent express their sincere gratitude to all for all of your remarkable volunteers, for their generous giving of time and talent, and their continuing legacy of enhancing the educational and extracurricular experience for students in this district. And so thank you very much. And so Rachel, if you would come. We present this to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And so I want to ask if Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall, members of the board, if you would come and stand in front. And at this time, Dr. Nancy Nestor Baker will recognize our Westerville Parent Council groups.
Thank you, Vaughn. And I am going to make a request. Since I am here saying names to all of you, I'm not up there shaking your hand. So when you come back by, could I please shake your hand? So swing by the podium on your way back to your seat. So when I say your name and your school, if you would, go up to the front, start with Dr. Kellogg, and work your way down the row so that we can all say thank you and give you a certificate to tell you how much we appreciate you. First, from the Special Needs Preschool PTA, Suzanne Kyle. Representing Alcott Elementary School PTA, Ryan Hilpertz. Amherst Elementary School PTA, Kelsey Copeland. Charrington Elementary School PTA, Shalise Gardena. Emerson Elementary School PTS, Brian Altier. Faust Elementary School PTO, Lindsay Mueller. Hanby Elementary School PTA, Erica Temru. Thank you. Hawthorne Elementary School PTO, Sarah Ward. Thank you. Huber Ridge Elementary School PTA, Becky Wallace. Mark Twain Elementary School PTA, Jessica Leineck. McVeigh Elementary School PTA, Kate Braden. Point View Elementary School PTA, Jamie Walker. Robert Frost Elementary School PTA, Lindsay Cady. Whittier Elementary School PTA, John Rudisil. Wilder Elementary School PTA, Lori Motzer. Blendon Middle School, PTO, Stacy Keenan, Amy Bennett. Genoa Middle School, PTSA, Nicole Johnson. Yes. Heritage Middle School, PTSA, Gretchen Uhl. Yes. Walnut Springs Middle School, PTSA, Tanya Schinnebarger. Central Academic Boosters, Nicole Johnson. Central Athletic Boosters, Kevin Sanislow. And again. Central Music Boosters, Gina Myers. Central Theater Boosters, Jim Wright. North Academic Boosters, Suzanne Zonner. North Athletic Boosters, Chuck Preston. North Music Boosters, David Martin. North Theater Boosters, Mindy Nelson, Liz Washburn. South Academic Boosters, Elizabeth Firth. South Athletic Boosters, Kevin Dykert. South Music Boosters, Larry Jenkins. South Theater Boosters, Leslie Walden. Westerville City Schools IB Fund, Katie LeMaurice. Westerville Black Parents Association, Vashita Johnson. Westerville Partners for Education, Leslie Walden. WCS Wings, Angie Heath. With that, let's give one more round of applause for everyone.
Okay, up next, 4.1, approve the minutes as presented for the Board of Education meetings held on February 28th, 2022, and March 4th, 2022, as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments here? Hearing none?
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Up next, 5.1, summer school report, and we're going to welcome Mr. McElwain. Welcome.
Good
And
evening,
team,
President.
sorry about that.
Yes, no, that's okay. How are you doing tonight?
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you, President Davidson, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall, esteemed members of the Board of Education. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity tonight to tell you about some of our summer 2022 learning opportunities that we're going to have here. So a lot of exciting things going on this summer. We're excited to be able to give programming for all three levels, our elementary school, our middle school, and our high school levels. Our elementary summer intervention program are going to be for current grades K through 5 students. This is going to run from June 6th through July 1st, and that's going to be 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. at Faust Elementary School. Our middle school intervention program is going to be for current grades 6 through 8 students. That's going to run from June 6th to July 1st, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Genoa Middle School. Once again, you'll start to see that we're kind of running in a certain section and quadrant of the district here. Our high school summer school is going to be for students entering grades 9 through 12. This is going to run June 6th through July 19th. That's going to run from 7:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. That's going to be at Westerville Central High School. We're happy to once again be able to offer this year a summer theater production, and this is going to be for all students entering grades 8 through 12. There's going to be rehearsals for this group starting June 1st all the way up to July 2nd. Dress rehearsals should be after the 4th holiday, running July 8th through July 13th. The performances will be July 14th through July 17th. These will all take place at Westerville Central High School. If you remember last year, we had to do an outdoor theater production of Oklahoma, and the troupe did a fantastic job with this. This year it's going to be Legally Blonde, the musical. A lot of excitement being generated around that, so it'll be really neat to see what they can put together with that program. We also have one other opportunity that we're going to offer to our students. This is our Summer Ignite program. This is for students entering grades 1st through 12th grade. That's going to run June 6th through July 1st. That'll be from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Genoa Middle School as well. To give you a little bit more insights about each of the programs that we are going to offer, we'll have a few of the team members come up and discuss those programs a little bit further in depth. We'll begin with our elementary summer intervention program, and I'd like to offer Mrs. Cheryl Relaford to come up and give us a little more info on that. Thank you.
Good evening. Elementary summer intervention is for students currently in grades K through 5 performing below grade level in decoding skills. Students were initially identified based on iReady reading results from the fall and winter diagnostics in the areas of phonological awareness and phonics. Excuse me. Phonological awareness is the ability to hear, recognize, and play with the sounds in spoken language. Phonics is the ability to match the sounds of spoken English with individual letters or groups of letters. Summer intervention results were analyzed by each building principal and their instructional coach team, and the building teams were given the option to consider other data points. The other data points that they were able to take into account was the chronological test of phonological processing, which is our CTOP, which is administered to all kindergarten students and students new to our buildings. K through 2, our teachers use Foundation, so the Foundation unit assessments results can be considered, and we use Haggerty, K2, and the Haggerty phonological awareness assessment could be considered. If buildings felt as if they needed additional information, they could also administer a CORE, which is the Consortium on Reading Excellence Assessment. Buildings are in the process of finalizing their data spreadsheets so that we can send out invitations during spring break. The main purpose for elementary summer intervention is to strengthen students' decoding skills. We will provide them with targeted skill-based intervention using a systematic multi-approach using phonics, using Sound Sensible and our SPIRE program. All students K-5, even though we're using the reading data to determine eligibility, all students will also gain access to some math intervention, and we'll use Bridges Workplaces, which is a game-based, hands-on math activity to support students in the areas of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And summer intervention this summer, thanks to some additional ESSER funds, will be free to all students eligible for free and reduced lunch, and if they are not eligible, it's $75. Last summer, we had a total of 322 students enrolled in elementary summer intervention. Those numbers are lower than years previously because it's a more targeted, skill-based approach. And now you'll learn about secondary from Dr. Jennifer Knapp.
Thank you, and good evening. Middle school intervention is for students currently in grades 6 through 8 who have been identified by a variety, of data points. So what we did this year for our teachers, counselors, and principals was to provide a list of every student, some demographic data. We had OST scores from the past in ELA and mathematics. We had their iReady winter diagnostic, as well as their most recent OST scores. We really felt that putting all of that data in front of our teachers and counselors and administrators, which is new, would really help them to select the correct students for this summer intervention program. Getting middle schoolers to attend summer intervention has its challenges. Several years ago, and you can see some exciting pictures, about 3 years ago, under the leadership of Dr. Ebrecht, we took a new approach and incorporated STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And like last year, this year, we're going to be selecting a novel, which will be our theme. That is going to be selected by the ELA teachers who have applied and have shown interest in summer intervention. And together with iReady, we will provide that programming to them. These experiences will include opportunities to engage in collaborative discussions and hands-on and team-building activities. So while we have 158 students, or we did last year, in previous years, we had more like 80, because it just wasn't, we just have to make it more engaging for our middle school students to want to come. We're also working to identify a counselor to offer some of those SEL services, and we're partnering with Tammy Santa's office. And we're also considering putting some just mindfulness and activities to really support the whole child in middle school, as we know how important that is. And now I get 3 slides. I'm not sure how I drew that straw, but the next one is high school summer school. So students entering 9th through 12th. So you can see a little bit different verbiage here. So in intervention, it's students in K-5 or in 6-8. This is students entering 9-12 because not only do we offer credit recovery, we also offer credit advancement. And more often than not, that is PE and health is what our students end up doing. So credit recovery is only offered for our students that live in Westerville and attend Westerville City Schools. We do not do credit recovery for out-of-district students. We do, however, offer credit advancement for both in-district and out-of-district students. And you can see the rate there. We do not charge for credit recovery in high school, and similar to what Cheryl shared, that's hard. We charge $75 for middle school intervention unless you are free and reduced lunch, in which the cost is waived. So credits earned, I think this is extremely important, a total of 442, both recovery and course advancement. So as you think about, if you can do the math in your head, about the number of courses that would cost us if we didn't make this opportunity available to our high school students and they had to repeat it during the course of the year, we would have a lot of teachers needing to do that, and then our students would quite possibly get behind. So this is a great opportunity to help keep our students on pace and provide them with the support that they need in the summer. Last and certainly not least, and Nick stole my thunder with the Legally Blonde. I was very excited about sharing that, Nick. Thanks. So, and again, we started this more recently. Students entering grades 8 through 12, and I could tell by the nods that you knew what Nick was talking about when he mentioned Legally Blonde and Oklahoma, which was what we did last year. The cost is $35 per student, and it will be housed at Westerville Central, and students have the opportunity through Credit Flex to get a 0.25 fine arts credit in theater production, and they can earn that really for the time that they're there, so up to 1.5 credits. So if they were to do it every summer, they could still get that as an elective credit repetitively. And now I will turn it over to Kaylee Nestor-Baker.
Good evening. I'm excited to talk with you tonight about Summer Ignite. We are able to provide Summer Ignite as an enrichment opportunity for our students who are entering grades 1 through 12. Again, this year, we did it last year for the first time, and we had a lot of interest last year. And as you can see, our program had a 90% positivity rating last year, and the other 10% were neutral. So we didn't have any negative. So that was great. And we said, okay, we definitely need to do this again. So the whole point of Summer Ignite is to support academic and social emotional well-being and growth by offering enriching and interest-based opportunities. So what we did is in February, we sent an all call to our staff. We said, what courses or what classes would you be interested in offering students in the summer? And we got all of these proposals back, and we were able to accept all of them. So we are now in our registration window, and as of this afternoon, we have 501 registration requests for Summer Ignite. That's double what we had last year. So we definitely have an interest. Our community is clearly interested in this type of program, and I'm excited about that. So this is not a substitute for summer school. It's not a substitute for summer intervention, and it's not a substitute for credit recovery and credit advancement. None of the classes are worth credit. They are purely interest-based opportunities for students to develop a passion of theirs. And they're able to do it with other students who share the same passion and the facilitator in the room who shares the same passion. So we're getting some academics and we're getting social emotional sense of belonging, all of that good stuff. There also is no charge to the families for Summer Ignite because this is being funded through ESSER. So I'm excited about that for our families as well. So what courses are we offering? We have a lot of different types of courses. So we have No Bake Fun for our elementaries. We have nature creations for our elementaries. Getting into secondary, we have designing solar energy houses. We have neuro wellness, yoga and mindfulness. And then we also have some video editing for our elementary and our secondary. So we have a variety of options for students. So our registration window will close on March 25th, or if all of the classes are full, and all but 3 are full right now, all but 3 are waitlisted, and the 3 are secondary courses. So whether they're full or whether we wait until March 25th, registration will close soon. And then we will communicate with our families and we'll start getting all of the logistics done for Summer Ignite. It will be at Genoa. It's aligned to summer school this year, which I'm really excited about because we will be able to offer students who are in summer school the opportunity to get into Summer Ignite in the afternoon. Summer school in the morning, Summer Ignite in the afternoon with lunch in the middle. So we will offer lunch to all of our students and we'll offer transportation to any students who request it who are outside of that walking boundary of Genoa. Okay. At this time, do you have any questions for anyone on our team?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, thank you so much for all the information. I just have a quick question about elementary. Since we use the reading data to select who's going to be part of summer intervention, but there's some math wrapped in for those students. So I'm just wondering for families who feel like, their kids doing okay in reading, but they're really struggling in math, what's their best step to figure out, how to help their kids over the summer? If you have any suggestions.
Yes. I'll let Cheryl answer that.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Aye. So what we would encourage families to do is to use some of the Bridges activities that have gone home with students throughout the year. So if kids are not identified for summer intervention, that would be the best recourse. Most teachers have sent out the different workplace games that the kids have been using throughout the year, and they also send out the strategies with an explanation for parents on how to work with their kids using the different strategies. We do rely on our buildings to communicate some extra activities that parents can use with students over the summer, and it's usually aligned with what I described.
Great, thank you. And since it will be summer, that information will be coming from the child's teacher this year. If parents have a need during the summer, should they reach out to the building, reach out to you?
So typically, we use the teacher as the first line of defense, but if for some reason they can't access the teacher or the building, they're always welcome to reach out to the curriculum team. The other thing that's available is our Google site that's part of our district website, has some really neat ideas as well.
Great. Thank you so much. I know sometimes in the summer it's not clear who to reach out to because the year's over, right? So.
Yes. And then the other thing, if I could just add one more, we use Bridges Math, which is part of my Math Learning Center, and that's also on our website, and it's a math at home guide that parents can access to.
Super. Yeah, thanks for all the information.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, this is an elementary question.
Okay.
Maybe elementary as regards grade level or elementary as regards simplicity. I'm not sure. So as you look at the students who are identified to be asked to consider taking the intervention courses, what sort of percentage do we typically see from those who are invited to participate to those who do? That's part one. Part two is, what are we going to do? How are we approaching the outreach this year to engage people and get them to want to sign their children up?
So the good thing is, we've done a couple of things. Number one, we pulled the data at the district level, and then Barbara Wallace and I did a traveling show, and we went to every building and met with building principals and instructional coaches to discuss their building data. Then building principals did follow-up meetings with teachers, and teachers are communicating with families about this. Now, the summer interventions letters won't go home to those recommended until spring break. And then we are working with our district EMIS team to try to streamline the registration a little bit. In the past, they've used a Google form. We're exploring an e-collect form, which is part of our Power School system, which most of our families are familiar with. Knock on wood, it's going to work out okay. So the goal is to make it as simple as possible, and I want to acknowledge Dr. Knapp, who came up with, can we just try to get away from that Google form? And so we are trying a few things that are familiar to families to help ease the transition into summer. We want as many students as possible to come. I don't have an exact number yet. Buildings have until March 17th to finalize their list, but it was quite a hefty list, and so they were in the process of analyzing additional data to make sure we're getting the right kids who need the targeted intervention that we're providing.
And to piggyback on Jen's comment about math, students who don't fall into the group that's being invited to participate, but there's still a desire on the part of families to work on those skills as we look at reading. What do we offer those families who are not in this group but still want the activities?
And so again, it would not be summer intervention based on what we're offering. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. We know that we have to build those foundational literacy skills for our kids to experience great success down the road. So we are prioritizing the decoding skills emphasis, because that will ensure that kids are able to gain the skills necessary to be successful learners down the line. We do want to support our students mathematically as well. And so if I haven't said anything else, it is really critical for families to try to build opportunities for their kids to practice using the strategies that they're taught during the school year versus using other types of programs. And all of those things are available through teachers sending those items home or through online resources. And our team can, if you like, we can, put something out to make sure that people are sending something similar, but it is usually sent out periodically throughout the year.
That's good. And reading as well as math. So Jen asked a really good question about math, and I just wanted to make sure we had similar levels of resources available for reading.
So the reading resources vary by child based upon their ability, and so this is the educator hat in me. You want kids who are on and above grade level, you just want them reading, and you want them to read books that they're interested in so that they continue to grow and flourish. We will have the public library coming in to do the sessions with our building as well to kind of connect that way. But read is the best you can do for kids who are on and above grade level. Our kids who are performing below grade level, they need continuous support, and we can work with families if for some reason they are not able to send them for summer intervention. I hope they come to summer intervention, because that part we can be as targeted as we need to be. But if they're not, they can't. There are resources through foundations and Haggerty that families can access. We do have several digital products that families can access as well up until I think it's mid-July, when the rollover happens, and then we have to kind of shut things down to begin the next school year. But those things are also available.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Vaughn? I just have a comment and then something I'm going to ask for you all to think about. As far as where we are housing these programs in the northern end of our district, I would just like to highlight that we have so much construction going on in other buildings, and those are our newer buildings, and I'm assuming that is why those buildings were chosen. True? Yeah, because they usually are at Hawthorne or
Yes.
wherever. The second thing is titles and names. I feel like titles and names we've learned, heard so much about over the last couple of years. And when you say summer intervention and summer ignite, do you see the difference there? I would challenge you to maybe think next year when we come back for a different name for summer intervention. I do think there's some connotation to it, and it does probably hold kids back and parents back. So I truly appreciate all that you do. I'm sure you're not even thinking about all of that, but I do think it makes a difference. So thank you for all that you do.
And thanks for the input. We'll take that into consideration for next year.
Thank you. Okay, up next, 5.2, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Kellogg.
Thank you, President Davidson, and thank you to the summer school team. It's hard to believe that we're talking about summer school in March, and I'm getting old and time's going past me quickly. So I just want to update the board on administration's progress since the work session on February 28th related to the various initiatives that we've been talking about. I know specifically the board wanted some feedback on magnet program. I'm going to give you a little bit on where we are with everything as we build out content for the work session a week from tonight. We'll move even further. So team's been great. They have put in a lot of thought to starting to develop action plans, spreading our communication chains to bring more people into the conversation so that we can build out action plans and go from the what to the how in our next work session with the board to see a path forward to how can we make these things happen for our community, for our schools, and for our kids. Specific to the magnet program, in general, as we heard the goal from the board, is looking at increasing the capacity for our math science strand by capitalizing on facilities resources that we have currently at Hamby, where we have classroom space. So we put a couple of things in place into the action plan. Some things have already happened. As a matter of fact, I know that Kaylee and Esther Baker has already met with the teachers in the self-contained gifted program just to talk to them about their perceptions of some of the conversation we're having with the proposal. Barb Wallace, Cheryl, and Paul Hopkins and I met with the principals at Emerson, Chris Pointer, and at Hamby, Megan Foreman-McCullough, just to get their perspectives on principals, knowing their community, knowing their schools, knowing the work they've done. They're thinking about the proposals to expand the science math program and what that would mean at those two buildings in terms of space, and got some good feedback from them. We also worked with them in setting an agenda and a date to have staff meetings with the two staffs. Those will actually take place this week on Thursday. So Thursday afternoon, I believe Paul and Kaylee are going to meet with Chris Pointer at Emerson, thank you, and Cheryl and Barb will be with Megan at Hamby. And we're preparing a document to collect feedback from our teachers on the proposed changes. I want to get their feedback on the logistics of that, moving classes, not moving classes, what years, et cetera, what they feel would be best. I want to get that information back from them on Thursday prior to the meeting Monday night. I think that information might help us drive any parent communication or any parent meetings moving forward in terms of next steps to seeing what our team, how we take the feedback from the teachers about how we make those changes, the pace of those changes, working with the board, and that may then drive some parent communication. Keeping in mind, we do have the open house at the Magnet School scheduled for this Wednesday. The lottery doesn't close till the 25th. So a lot of what we're talking about is in that time frame. If we need to make any modifications to that down the line, we can still do that post spring break if we need to. So making steady headway on those concepts. Going to talk to the staff, and we'll have some more information regarding their feedback on Monday night. Other ones, I won't give as much detail on the other ones, but expansion of student technology devices. We're really interested in moving our target from being 2 students to 1 device to a 1-to-1 ratio. having more consistent access to devices in the classrooms for our teachers and students. That's the important piece, consistent access in those classrooms, and bridging some of the digital equity gaps we know occur in our homes. So some of the steps we're looking at there, reestablishing a roadmap committee that we've had before to help guide us, beginning looking at the proposed rollout plan, budget considerations, 5-year forecasts are all parts of those conversations, and will be part of those action plans we'll bring forward next week. Same with middle school redesign. We had a very robust middle school redesign team that was moving right along, making recommendations to us. We're going to re-energize that group, reestablish that team to bring them forward. We want to look at the teaming piece. I know there's a lot of questions about should we, and if we do, what does it look like, particularly 7th and 8th grade? How do we capitalize on the changes we've made so far to 6th grade teaming, flex periods? We are continue to press for adding FTE for next year to fill in the electives at the middle school, so we'll bring some more of that in. So want to build that team back, get it reorganized around the goals of that program, and start making some recommendations. So we'll have some more specifics in that action plan as well when we get together next Monday. Student mental health and wellness, the work of Tammy. Again, we're looking at those FTE changes they proposed. How do those fit into our long-range staffing plan and our 5-year forecast? Really, the shift in there that we're looking for is moving the current resources that are grant-funded that are at the middle school, moving those to the elementary school where we don't have that social work support in the same means, and then backfilling the middle school with a more robust support from social workers, and that's an FTE of about five for the middle schools moving forward. So where do we plug those in? When do those changes happen? What's the impact of the grant? Are all pieces that we're looking at as part of the mental health and wellness, as well as looking for some temporary support for our nurses in our clinics. One of the things we've learned through the pandemic is we would stand a good look at the staffing and operations of our health clinics across the district to make sure there's some standardization of expectations and operating procedures. So we have some grant money available to us that we're looking at to possibly fund a position there on a short term. We're looking at 2-year piece. So that might be a strategy that's in the action plan we bring forward within that piece. And the all-day kindergarten really is more often in the future as we roll out the changes that we've made, the program expansion that we're going into this year. I know Barb Wallace and her team have been busy with the kindergarten lottery. I think they were doing some work on that today. So we're seeing good response from the community in terms of interest in all-day kindergarten. So really in there, we're looking at some monitoring metrics for us over the next couple of years to bring to the board as part of our annual review. What's the demand? How are we looking at tuition? How are staff and family feeling about the program? Down the line, what's a budget analysis for cost to go to 100%, the implications for tuition, FTE, the 5-year forecast. So that's more of a down the road, several years down the road as we run the current program, but we want to build out those metrics and be reporting to the board so you can see what's going on in there and make informed decisions down the line. So all that has to be bundled together in terms of allocations to budgets for FY23, and then Ms. Marshall's preparation of the 5-year forecast in May and then beyond, and how do we put some of this in as placeholders and possibilities so we can, over the next several years, continue to look at these initiatives, their value to the district, our possibilities with the resources we have as conditions change, as we see all the time. So we'll be bringing back some very specific action plans, some more information on resources, timing. Let the board see where some critical decision points will be made around those, and what those factors might be as we get ready for the work session. So briefing of where we're at, and happy to take any questions and tell you what I know at this point. I want to thank the team. They've been great in terms of their response. There's generally good excitement around bringing these things forward, and we're interested in seeing both the community, staff, and students, and the board's response to some of those ideas as we move forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Hearing none. Thank you so much for that,
Appreciate
for the update. Appreciate it. 6.1, public comments. We do not have any at this first set. 7.1, a resolution to approve the purchases in accordance with ORC 5705.4 4.41 and Board Policy 6320. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And Ms. Marshall?
Yes, thank you, President Davidson, members of the board. So these are what we call then and now purchase orders. This is where we have a purchase order that is dated after an invoice date. Ideally, we like to have those dated prior to an invoice date. This means that the money was appropriately encumbered before any goods or services were ordered. We have two tonight. One is for Project Lead the Way. We actually had a purchase order in place, and this is just a replacement purchase order due to back orders and issues that we had thanks to COVID. We've seen a lot of that. The other is for the Renaissance Westerville Hotel, and that's for the May 2022 prom. There was some confusion because prom doesn't actually take place until May, but the invoice is dated earlier, so just a timing issue there.
Any questions? Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 7.2, resolution accepting amounts and rates for tax year 2022, collection year 2023, as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
To you, Ms. Marshall.
Yeah, thank you again. So we do this annually, so the Budget Commission has approved our tax budget for the year. So this will allow us them to put estimates in place for our tax rates. We will come back probably in January of next year and approve the actual rates once values and everything are determined.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none?
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Would it be okay if we did the personnel consent agenda as one? Okay. May I have a motion for 8.1 through 8.14 personnel consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Dorn is with us. Just know that Mr. Reeves always tells us fun jokes and gives us history lessons, so.
I'm sure you're going to be without those elements this evening.
Okay.
But thank you, and good evening, President Davidson, Vice President Altman, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Ms. Marshall. I would like to present to you for your consideration tonight's personal consent agenda. The items in tonight's agenda mostly represent our regular action items with regards to resignations, hiring, changes of assignments, and contractual status changes. And there are a few items, however, to be noted in tonight's agenda. Tonight, we are asking the board to consider and approve 7 classified resignations, but 5 of which have accepted other positions in the district. 11 license change of assignments, 4 of which are selections for Minerva France Elementary School. 2 one-time pays for licensed employees undertaking additional responsibilities and work completed outside of the contract day. We're asking the board to approve supplemental contracts for both tournament, winter tournaments, and spring sports, which officially began on February 21st. With a board approval tonight, we would like to welcome 3 classified and 4 licensed employees to the Westerville family. We also have 2 retirements to consider this evening that deserve some special recognition. First, we have Jill McKinley, who will be retiring from her role as a school nurse for the Early Learning Center's preschool and Whittier Elementary School with 29 years of service to the district. And Marty Sommerfeld will be retiring as a longtime first-grade teacher at Alcott Elementary School with 29 years of service to the district. And for an additional special recognition, we would like to acknowledge the hiring of classified administrator Tim Stifler as the Director of Information Technology. Tim has joined us this evening and is in the back of the room. His wife Karen joins us as well. We are delighted that we could steal him away from his current employer to serve his community. He is a Westerville resident and a 2004 Westerville South graduate. So please help us welcome Tim.
Welcome.
And no history lesson, but I'm happy to answer a question if you might have.
Any questions? Hearing none.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 9.1, final reading to approve student non-transportation boundary for Minerva Park Middle School. May I have a motion?
So move, or second.
Any comments here? Hearing none?
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes. 9.2, final reading to approve student non-transport boundary for Minerva France Elementary School. May I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none?
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes. New business, 10.1, first reading for 2023-2024 academic calendar. And Mr. Dorn will be joining us again.
And he still won't have any history?
And thank you again. Presented here tonight for the first reading is the 2023-2024 school year calendar. The district developed calendar options for a superintendent's committee to review. The committee studied the calendar options and sought feedback from the groups that they represented. The committee met in person to share the feedback from the calendar options and a revised option was devised and presented here for your review tonight. Committee members represented Westerville Parent Council, our curriculum and instruction team, our assessment team, and our professional development team, as well as the WEA, WESA, OPSI 719, and OPSI 138. There needs to be a 30-day window for review prior to the second reading. Thus, this will return to the board on the April 25th meeting rather than the April 11th meeting for approval.
Any questions or comments here? Hearing none. Okay. 10.2, first reading, policy 6110, grant funds. Ms. Marshall?
Thank you. So this is a revision based on Neola's recommendations, who service our board policies. And this revision adds language regarding maintenance of effort and maintenance of equity as required by federal grants. Maintenance of effort looks at local and state funding to ensure that we are not supplanting federal funds at the district level. And maintenance of equity looks at state and local funding to ensure any changes are equitable between buildings. And that's the only revision for this policy.
Okay. Any questions or comments here?
I have a comment. This first page where it says no grant funds received by the district shall be used for, and then goes through A through D. Is that really necessary anymore? Because of the federal regulations that are probably put in place in guidelines, or can we remove that?
So the section where the prohibition for the grant funds, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I imagine that's already spelled out in the federal grants, or federal guidelines.
Yeah, so that is Title 20. It's a prohibition in the federal statutes, yeah.
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 Is it necessary to restate it here, though? Do we need to?
I don't know that it's necessarily necessary that we restate it here as long as the policy says that we'll comply with federal requirements. But a lot of our policies do mirror state statute, federal guidelines, and that sort of thing. And I think they're meant to be informational for the reader. So I think that's why it's probably here. And I did look at, with Neola, it's, how they prepare the policies and their advice for that, so.
So I thought the same thing. I thought it seemed it was a little outdated or negative, I guess. Especially when, we have up above about the federal, and I'm sorry, this print is so small on here. And it has to be linked to our goals and priorities. So I would support removing that piece also.
So before we remove that language, I'd just like to verify that it's not something that we're required to
Absolutely.
state in our policy.
Yep.
So I'll do that research before we bring it back for the final reading.
You thinking, Nancy? I can tell your wheels are turning.
Well, you know that I am always in favor of chopping out as much of the Neola language as possible. So I'm weighing the need that we have to make sure our employees understand what the policies mean with the need that we have to keep the policies manageable and readable. So I'm weighing those. So, yeah, I think it'd be good to hear if we need to have that or if we can chop out some unnecessary language as long as we have sufficient access to that language for those who need to see it. You know, whether we have it under administrative guidelines or wherever we have that, however we want to make that available to people, whether we want to tell people, be sure you talk to the treasurer's office before you do this, you know, whatever we might want to say. But yeah, you know me, I'm always in favor of shortening these policies, if it makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. 10.3, first reading for policy 6114, cost principles spending federal funds revised. Ms. Marshall.
Yes, thank you again. So this revision moves clarifying language regarding the analysis of necessary costs for program objectives from lower down in the policy. It's just moving that language up to make it clearer. It also adds prohibition language for telecommunications and video surveillance equipment in accordance with federal guidelines, and adds language that federally funded contracts in excess of $2,000 for construction comply with prevailing wage requirements. That's already a requirement, just listing that in there. And adds clarifying language that costs will not be double charged as both indirect and direct costs. Again, not something we do, but something required to go into the policy.
Any comments here? Questions? Nope. Okay, moving on. 10.4, first reading policy 6325, procurement, federal grants and funds.
So this simply adds the prevailing wage language from the previous policy that was added also to this policy.
Okay, any questions here? 10.5, first reading policy 6423, use of credit cards. Ms. Marshall?
Yeah, so this is a requirement based on state law that adds clarifying language that the treasurer is responsible for credit card tracking, and then employees will report lost or stolen cards immediately. Again, something we've done, it's just we have to state it in policy per state rules.
Sure. Any questions or comments here? Okay, moving on. Standing business, 11.1, overnight and out-of-state field trips. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hi.
Good evening. Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall. This is a request for approval for a trip to tour significant World War II locations throughout Western Europe, and that would take place this June. This program is through EF Tours and our Westerville Worldwide program.
Awesome. Any questions for Ann? Thank you. Marshall?
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.2, a resolution approving HVAC improvements at Hvac Elementary School, Genoa Middle School, and North High School and South High School. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
And Mr. Dorn's back with us.
Thank you. The HVAC improvements are per the request of our in-house HVAC team, and the need has been validated by our architects and engineers hired by the district. The scope of work includes the replacement of one rooftop unit at Hvac Elementary School, the refurbishment of one air handling unit at Genoa Middle School, the replacement of the kitchen hood exhaust systems at North and South High Schools, and modifications to the fume hood and purge fan exhaust systems in the science rooms at North High School. Bids were solicited in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code on February 7th and publicly read on March 1st. We received one bid submitted by the Regal Plumbing and Heating Company in the amount of $1,906,698, which is 9% over the architect's estimate. will be using ESSER grant funds for the Genoa Middle School portion of the scope, reducing the impact to the capital funds by $1,064,795, resulting in a 55% decrease from the total bid amount. The ESSER grant requires that the contractors pay prevailing wages. Thus prevailing wage bid alternate for Genoa, item 1A on the bid tab, is included in the total cost being presented tonight. The HVAC work is scheduled as part of our 2022 Summer Capital Improvements Program, with August 1st as the contracted substantial completion date. Regal was the successful bidder for last summer's HVAC work and has performed well for the district. It is being recommended that the board accept the bid for the HVAC improvements from Regal Plumbing and Heating Company as presented.
Any questions?
One question. Scott, this does not impact the bid that you've put forward here for us to vote on, but I am wondering the HVAC work that needs to be done. Is this, as you would think of it, because these items have operated beyond their lifespan? Is it because of equipment failure within the lifespan? How would you categorize these replacements?
We would categorize them as reaching their expected useful life.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.3, a resolution to approve the selection of the district-wide phone system. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dorn.
The resolution in front of you is to authorize a contract with Accent to provide a district-wide phone system replacement with 5 years of service included. Given that this is not a typical annual expenditure, we wanted to present this to the board this evening. The project is exempt from the sealed bidding requirements of Section 3313.46 of the revised code, as telephone systems and equipment are integral to the security and safety of the district's property. In lieu of sealed bids, though, the district solicited competitive pricing for proposals for the project from qualified firms the week of January 3rd, with proposals due February 4th. Additionally, the district solicited a third-party support from TTG in the development of the RFP and the contract negotiations. This is the third telephone system TTG has assisted the district in procuring. The RFP was received by 15 vendors and 13 return proposals, with 12 of them being fully compliant. 3 finalists were selected for demonstrations, 1 withdrew, and 2 systems were presented. A scoring matrix was utilized, and Accent was the vendor selected. In preparation for this systems refresh, the district has previously budgeted $880,000 for the project. The district identified this need to replace the aging telephone systems and equipment and facilities throughout the district with new equipment and systems, as the legacy system is 11 years old. The agreement presented is for $772,964, which includes our 2 new buildings, Minerva France Elementary School and Minerva Park Middle School, which were not included in the original RFP. For this system, after 5 years, we will have an annual fee that we will need to include in our long-range planning. We did not seek to lock in years 6 to 10, as we anticipate rates to go down, and we wanted to maintain the ability to see competitive pricing should the market be much better than it is today. In complement to this project, the district will also be soliciting pricing for the SIP trunking, which is the lines into the district through the internet, because we had to wait to select a system before we selected how data was delivered to us. The refresh will start late spring and be completed over the summer. The Early Learning Center and Minerva France Elementary School will likely be our starting points. So tonight it is being recommended that the board approve the resolution in front of you for the district-wide phone system refresh.
Any questions or comments here?
I'll just say I know it's been a really big headache, so I'm happy you guys are getting a refresh.
Ms. Marshall?
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.4, resolution approving the Phase 1 renovation expansion of Whittier Elementary School and the Phase 1 renovation of Hawthorne Elementary School. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Dorn?
Both projects are part of the bond levy that the community approved in November of 2019. The renovation work at Hawthorne has been designed for a capacity of 600 students or 4 classrooms per grade level. The scope of Phase 1 work includes adding 3 project-based learning areas, renovating instructional spaces for ESL, reading, and special education, renovating the staff lounge, expanding the student dining area, expanding the office area, and renovating the existing hallways. The renovation work at Whittier has been designed for a capacity of 450 students or 3 classrooms per grade level. The scope of the Phase 1 work includes construction of a new art room and music room on the east end of the center wing, renovating the administrative offices to include a secured entrance and enlarging the clinic area, converting 2 existing classrooms into a kindergarten classroom to provide a 3rd kindergarten room, and renovating instructional spaces for ESL, intervention, and special education, as well as renovations to the staff lounge. Bids were solicited in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code on January 17th and publicly read on March 4th. We received 3 bids, with the lowest responsible bid being submitted by Pepper Construction in the amount of $5,723,000, which includes 12 of the 13 bid alternates referenced on the bid tab. Pepper's bid is under the architect's estimate and keeps us on track to maintain budget compliance for all future phases on both projects. The Phase 1 work is scheduled to be substantially complete July of 2023, with all phases being completed in July of 2024. Pepper was the successful bidder for the construction of Minerva Park Middle School and has performed well to date. It is being recommended that the board accept Pepper's bid as presented.
Any questions or comments? Really excited about these 2 projects. That's my
Yeah, they're
comment.
going to be really nice.
Yeah, super exciting. Marshall?
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Bell,
Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes. We do not have any public comments this evening, which takes us to board comments. Who would like to go first? Okay.
First, I just want to give a big thanks to our parent volunteers for all the fundraising. Oh, I thought it was on. My apologies. Just wanted to thank our parent volunteers again for all of their fundraising efforts and all of the many hours they've put in. Just a quick human resources update. We still have 8 positions to fill at Minerva France, and we have about 40 other non-classified positions, such as food service and bus driver positions. So if you're looking, please go to the website and apply. And then I just have a legislative update of a few things here. Senate Bill 181 was recently enacted, which establishes restrictions on policies that prevent students from wearing religious apparel when competing or participating in athletics or extracurricular activities. It permits certain officials to limit the wearing of religious apparel if a legitimate danger to participants is identified, but requires administrator or official to offer all reasonable accommodations and provide civil immunity for schools and school districts, among others. Some pending legislation is the House rejected the Senate changes to House Bill 126, the Board of Revision Bill, which is good. On March 2nd, the Ohio House of Representatives voted unanimously to reject the Ohio Senate's changes to House Bill 126. And we had talked about this bill in previous board meetings. In the version of the bill that passed the Senate would modify the Board of Revision process to only allow property owners to file an initial complaint and require a school district before filing a counter complaint to adopt a resolution that includes evidence of another value. Additionally, the Senate passed version would prohibit a property owner in a school district from entering into a private pay agreement and prohibit a school district from appealing the decision of a Board of Revision. It heads back to the Ohio Senate to decide the next step. So there's a couple different scenarios, but likely it will end up in conference committee. So that's where that's probably going to end up. And so we'll live to see another day, hopefully, and maybe it will die a very painful death. And then just another comment, just a reminder that tomorrow is one of the 3 suicide prevention trainings called Question Persuade, Refer, or known as QPR. And I know Tammy Santa came and talked about it a little bit with her team. It's a 90-minute virtual training, and it starts at 6 p.m. And to join, just go to the district school webpage, and there's a banner right there. You can just click on it. That's all.
Sure, great, thank you so much. And thanks for mentioning QPR. That was one of the things on my list. So tomorrow night, please sign up if you can. And I also just wanted to thank all of our support groups. Really is an incredible amount of work, and I just really quick math that if you average that out, the amount of money that was raised by those groups, if you average it out, it's $17 per student in the district. And the number of hours they put in, about 1.7 hours per student total, all those parent groups. So it really is a tremendous benefit for the district, and just want to thank them.
Have a few things. First, I'd like to congratulate and thank our retirees, Jill McKinley and Marty Sommerfeld, 29 years of experience, both of them. So thank you for your commitment to students and learning in the Westerville City School District. And also would like to welcome again Tim, our new Information Director of Technology. There we go. Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Welcome him to the team. Quick communications update. Dr. Nestor Baker and myself had an opportunity to meet with Greg V. Branch and the communication team to talk about some of the work that's being done in the area of communications. They have completed the work on updating the intranet for internal stakeholders. They have upgraded and updated that system to improve efficiencies for internal customers. And so it's just made it a lot more user-friendly, and a lot more information then will be available for our various employer groups that will be posted there. So congratulations to the team on making that upgrade. The team is beginning to sketch out the preliminary ideas for the ribbon cutting and open house coming up this summer for the opening of Minerva France. So right now it's really in the ideas phase of, okay, what does that look like? What should it look like? So we're beginning to work through that process. One more thing on communications. The City of Westerville has released its State of the Community webpage and video. This is a precursor to a live event that the city is planning for May the 12th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Renaissance Hotel at Polaris. So if you are available, I'm sure it would be great for us to be able to be represented there as well. One more thing. I was able to attend the OSBA's Board Member 201 training this past Saturday. And the curriculum for that training dealt with current challenges for board members, new developments in legislation and policy, strategies to build or maintain strong partnerships with fellow board members and administrators, and also legal and legislative policy experts were on hand to answer questions for the various members that were present for the training. It was a great training. It provided a lot of refresher information. Much of it wasn't new, but it was great to be able to hear it again. After having a few years of board experience, it takes on a whole new meaning, because now it's like, oh yeah, that's what that meant. So I highly recommend if you're able to attend the Board Member 201 training as well. And that's all I have.
Much of what I would say has been said. I just think I will do a summation of this evening's meeting and what it means. And when you look at our parent groups, and we've said thank you to them, and I also offer my thanks as well. The remarkable engagement of our parents in times that are hard, times that are running more normally, is beyond compare. It's wonderful, the level of engagement our families have in this school system. It's great to be able to say thank you to them. Also, as we look at Jill and Marty's retirements, I just can't believe that those two people were here for 29 years. My gosh, you were saying, as we started the meeting, that time flies. Yes, it does indeed. They are remarkable people, and if we needed additional evidence of the strength of the staff of this school district, we need only to look at people like Jill and Marty. Pretty phenomenal people. As we look at what's going on with our summer school program, we look at the forward motion on the items, John, that you and your team are working on that came from what the board is interested in seeing. We're looking at strong forward movement in this district in meeting the needs of students across many layers of those needs, and that is very exciting to see. I'm delighted to see Tim's hiring. He comes at a good time. He comes as we come out of a time that tested everyone and continues to test us in many ways and will have ramifications for some years. But what we see now as we come out of that time is that we are emerging in a way that we are, as we had hoped, ready to step forward and do these wonderful things. So tonight just gave evidence after evidence after evidence of how that's happening. It's good stuff.
So hard to go last. I echo all of these comments up here tonight. From my lens, I'll be honest, I came here tonight a little crabby, wasn't really in the mood for this, but I walked in, it was a long day. Yeah, walked in, and it was probably the most people we've had at a meeting in 2 years. It's going to kind of make me cry. And everyone was happy, and we were celebrating something good. And this goes back to what you were saying, Nancy. It felt like for the first time we were moving forward. And I know we have been moving forward, but it's a different vibe and feeling, and it feels really, really good. So I just want to acknowledge that a little bit. So that's it for me. Anything else from anybody? No? Okay. 14.1, the Board of Education will meet on Monday, March 21st, 2022 for a work session, and on Monday, April 11th, 2022 in a regular session right here at the Early Learning Center. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We're adjourned.